There we go. Good evening to all of you. Welcome to Talk 54. Today we have with us Rajesh. Uh, we call him AR. He is more known as Rajesh AR. Rajesh AR is the co-founder and the CEO of LabourNet. LabourNet is a social enterprise that enables livelihood through organized labor. And when you talk about labor, the word that Rajesh uses is he calls them the invisible workforce. And the reason that he is using it as invisible workforce is because he feels that a lot of what they do is their existence and their engagement, their participation in the economy is so invisible, but they are so integral to what gets done in this economy. And very importantly, their existence actually became very visible during COVID, and all of us had a chance to hear a lot of discourse about the labor force in this country. Um, Rajesh, prior to that, had held very responsible roles in a company called Team Lease, which is a staffing services company. In fact, one of the uh, founding partners of that company. He actually initiated what is called today a temping service, but he was one of those pioneers in setting up what is called a temporary workforce concept. And after that, he has also held the placement wing of Manipal Education. In all, Rajesh has spent close to about 20 plus years very focused in the area of labor and labor ecosystem. Um, why it is very important is when it comes to design. I mean, we as part of a design community, somewhere or the other, uh, have to touch this labor ecosystem because whatever is designed finally gets delivered in the last mile. Be it a product, it is this invisible labor that comes in making it done and get to the customer. And be it a virtual service, it's always that one invisible worker who is actually doing and making sure the end experience gets delivered. So whatever we do in whatever form finally gets through this labor ecosystem. Now, it's very important for us to understand, which Rajesh feels is very critical, because when design starts intervening, starts participating, and adding value to this labor ecosystem, the kind of impact it can generate is humongous. And what are those impacts? What are the possibilities? Those can happen only if we have some kind of understanding of what this ecosystem is. And that's what Rajesh is going to kind of demystify and open us into this world of labor ecosystem. And I'm sure that with this, we'll have a great deal of additional wisdom in grasping and understanding this concept of invisible workforce. So without much ado and taking too much of your time, I'm handing over the session to Rajesh. Rajesh, it's all yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Ravi. Thanks a lot for this invite. So today, while I was just trying to figure out the topic and how it has to be looked at, I thought, let me open up a new world, or what we call it as a world of Indian labor ecosystem. A world which critically needs design, a new way of thinking, a new way of design. Just as a preamble, I am not an economist, I'm not a policy expert, I'm not a sociologist. And I just for the last 20 years, I've been working in this particular field, just got enamored by the size of the market, by the issues, by the point of the lack of dignity of this particular labor, and how do we realign that particular dignity back to them. So whatever I am sharing is more from a practical perspective, what I have seen in the last 20 years. And when this conversation happened, what I was only trying to achieve, and my key takeaway would be, if I'm able to get this design community to do something to disrupt this ecosystem, which is so important for the economy. The guy who, when you order a pizza or when you order through a Swiggy, the guy who actually comes and delivers that pizza or the food, the guy after you buy an insurance or something, you have somebody comes to pick up some documents. The guy in your apartment who operates that lift, if at all it is there. The guy, a contract painter, a car mechanic, I mean, hairdresser, cook, I can go on with that particular list. The fact that they're all there. The fact is also that we cannot imagine lives without them. I wanted to start the conversation with one such guy. Look at a particular scenario. I mean, let's call him as Manoj. Look at a particular scenario of you have a problem. You have a problem with your refrigerator, and you called that 1-800 number. Maybe that refrigerator, some blade was an issue, or the light was not working, or it was not cooling properly. You called that 1-800 number, or you went to the urban club and you said, hey, send me a mechanic. And Manoj knocks into your house in terms of looking at, hey, what is that issue? And he opens the refrigerator, maybe changes the bulb, and you pay him maybe $1,000 or $700. And that basic electrician who came and repaired that appliance, he gets 500 rupees for that particular, maybe changing of a leaf, changing of a bulb, changing of a not condenser, to filling up a gas, etc. He gets 500 rupees per day. Now, that is what is visible to us as a consumer, as a person who comes into your house or into your office to repair it. I thought, let me trace back that Manoj, who's 50 years old today, to his age. How did he land up at your house, and who repaired a small work which you had called in to do for your refrigerator? At the age of 35, the same Manoj was working as an independent contractor who used to take some odd jobs. That means when if you had a problem with your electrical appliances, maybe you will walk down to the nearest electrical shop and say, hey, can you send somebody because I have a problem with my mixie or a grinder? And that person, the shopkeeper, or they send somebody to your house to check that electrician. So he was a small independent contractor, again, making some 400 rupees per day kind of a thing. Before that, he was again working as a contractor, but he didn't have the tools to come to your house and repair. That means he was working as an assistant to somebody, helping him using the tools of the senior mechanic or senior electrician to do it. Much before that, maybe he wasn't completely as a helper to a particular electrician at the age of 20. And see this gap, he took 30 years to move up his wages and become a full-time contract guy. At the age of 18, maybe he was a part-time electrical. He went into a shop. He started learning how the repair work was or what are the different kinds of machine. But much before that, at the age of 16, maybe he has nowhere linked to that particular electrician or nowhere kind of a repair kind of a thing. Maybe he was cleaning a restaurant and was earning 150 rupees per day. And maybe before that, at the age of 14, he dropped out of his school. So this has been his journey to get up to a 500 rupees per day. That means he hardly makes 12 to 15,000 rupees per month. And why I'm taking the 12 to 15,000 rupees per month is India's per capita GDP is 10,000 to 11,000 rupees per annum. That is what our per capita GDP is. So this is the journey of Manoj. And what is the problem here? In terms of two things. There is no dignity to work, and there is no real income he is earning. Now, let me spend some time on what does a real wage mean. When a person, like for example, today, I was just speaking to Nimesh moved from, say, Bangalore to Jodhpur, or say Jodhpur to Bangalore, whichever. When you migrate from your hometown to the bigger city for work, the cost of stay, cost of food, the cost of travel becomes an additional expenses, And the income, even if you're getting 1,000 rupees a day, or even if you're getting 10,000 or 20,000 rupees a month, if you deduct these things, which would not have been that much in their hometown, what they get is the real income. Today, because jobs are available in urban areas, there is a huge migration which is happening to rural to urban. The actual real income a construction worker or an electrician or a particular manufacturing worker takes is actually 1/3 of their salary goes off, or maybe some cases half the salary goes off, and the real income is always a challenge. But more important is for that Manoj is the dignity of labor. Today, when you need a bank loan, you have a credit history. The bankers gives you a pre-approved loan. Manoj doesn't have a credit history because most of his payment has been in cash. He doesn't have any CIBIL rating. Bankers don't give him loans. If he needs a place to stay, he needs to think 100 times because he doesn't have the document or valid things to stay. I mean, first of all, he doesn't have the income, plus whether to get a housing loan, etc., etc. He doesn't get that kind of a respect within the ecosystem he operates. He has his own self-doubts. He doesn't get respected. Hence, dignity of labor today, what we take it for granted in the white-collar economy, is actually missing in the world of Manoj. And now look, if you look at that particular person called Manoj, he's not just 1, 2, or a small size of our working population. He constitutes, out of the 1.3 billion people, he constitutes maybe 300 million people. Now I'll put in some statistics so that all of us get some context of what kind of an enormity of the problem it is. 1.3 billion Indians, not in the age group of working, say 430 million people you can remove because they're age of 14 and below or 16 and below. They're still in schools, they're not studying. There are people who is not working, but in the working age population. Working age population is around 16 to 60 years. There are 360 million people. Some set of people here would have voluntarily decided not to work. Some set of people will be in colleges, studies, etc. Some set of people will be unemployed. Then there are a set of people who is working. If you see that white collar, that is 50 million people and 10 million of them contract, these are the set of people who are white, who gets monthly wages, who gets social security, which all of us represent. 50 million out of the 1.3 billion people, or out of the 500 million people who are working. Then there are 2, 3 other categories, and I just wanted to mention blue and gray collar. These kinds of jobs in blue and gray collar are typically machine operators, crane operators, the people like Manoj, etc. And then there is a set of people, let us call it as agriculture workers or no-collar workers, which is around 150 odd million people. The green box just doesn't need any major skills. A pair of hands and legs is fine. Gray and blue collar need some level of technical skills and some level of experience to deliver. White collar is you need some level of things to get into a monthly wage or organized workforce. Now, what is the concern here? If the concern is 50 million people designs the stuffs, does the activity, and that is the organized employment which all of us get, and we constitute just 10 or 15% of the labor market. Now, what is the worst thing? The 360 million people who's in the orange, out of that, 10 to 12 million people enter the labor force every year. And out of most of them move into the green box, where they enter the labor force with no skill sets at the age of 16, and they exit the labor force at the age of 60 with actually the same skill sets. There is no addition of skill sets. What they just get is the inflation correction of wages. Look at it like the people who does stone crushing or who does some chotuing kind of work, or in terms of some agriculture worker, in that sense of things. The point I wanted to bring into the point here is we actually try improving that white collar space to even 10 to 15% of blue or gray collar kind of a thing. we can enable the set of people here, whoever is in blue or gray collar, which actually gets paid less than 250 rupees to 300 rupees per day on an average, which is there, where there is no job security, there is no continuity of work, which the white collar team has. If you are able to expand even a small particular circle, you would have made impact to a larger set of audience. People call it formalizing the informal. People call it by various names. Maybe I'll step back and give one small example. Most of us as maids in our apartments, who comes morning, evening, does some level of cleaning, and then goes off. We pay them on the days they come, or we pay them their 5,000, 2,000, 3,000, whatever is restricted, maybe by cash. But that is an informal economy. The transactions which is happening is informal. Maybe you'll put it into the bank, that's fine. How do we create, now look at it like this. You want to make that informal a formal economy. That means you have to put that money into the bank account. That means the taxes has to be deducted if at all it is applicable. You want to give social security, that is PF, ESI can be deducted. You want to give a social health cover, that means you need to put that amount into the thing. It is very easy for an external guy to say that we have to formalize informal. There is a cost for formalizing. Now, we as individual, where we are paying 2,000, we may have to pay 3,000 rupees for that formalizing thing. And we hesitate the moment that comes into the play. Now, we as an individual makes an enterprise, or enterprise makes an industry. So there is always an incentive for being informal. But thanks to whatever is happening in the economy, that is GST rollouts and automation of PF, ESI, making it more compulsory, there is a wind behind the back to make it more formal. And we will see a lot of these people migrating or moving into white collars slowly. Just that the point which I was trying to say, this space of 500 million people in the workforce and the 300 to 350 million people are people like Manoj. The problem in what we are facing, the problem what we are facing in that particular segment is not that they don't have work. The solution is not like, oh, let us generate more jobs. No. Our unemployment is only 4 to 6%, and that is highest among the graduates. And it is not among the blue, gray, or the kind of people who's working in. People get jobs, but they just get low-paying jobs. Their productivity is at the lowest end. So unemployment is not the issue. What is the issue is the underemployment. Because in the white collar space, what you saw, you get monthly wages, you mean that. But in the blue or in the gray collar kind of a space, which one is there, you get paid on per task, per activity. Like you paid Manoj after he completed the task of filling up a gas in your refrigerator. If one person comes in or 3 people have come in for doing the job, you would have paid only that 750 rupees or 1,500 rupees for filling up the gas. And that gets split between 2-3 people. Hence, all the 3 people would have got a job, but their wages, what they get, is very, very low compared to any other person who would have come and done the particular thing. So our key problem for that invisible worker is underemployment. And when I'm talking about underemployment, it is the wages they get. You will find whole lot of open vacancies or vacancies for 200, 250 rupees per day kind of a thing. But what will you do with $2 a day? You need that guy to at least get 500, 600 rupees a day and then put an upward journey to be at least productive or can have some dignified living. So that is the key problem for the Indian labor market. And I would say this is the modern day slavery, the underemployment phenomena which has plagued our labor market. If that is the kind of a thing, and if we have to relook the same journey of Manoj, where can we make him, how can we look at him for 2,000 rupees per day kind of a wage, which is, I'm just putting it as a 50K per month. How can we relook at that particular journey? The same story again, there are two parts. That green line which we saw at the age of 50 when you had a problem with your washing machine or with your fridge, you called up Manoj Lansab, that is at the green. Now, in the revised set of a thing, that black point is when Manoj Lansab, and when he comes in, he what the wages what he get, assuming that it has to be 2000, and let us look at how that journey can enable him to reach 2000. Same Manoj at the age of 14, looking at dropping out of the school, no change from that. But at this point, he has an option to go into learning and earning kind of a scenario. Thanks to a huge push into the National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme, that is apprenticeship as a medium for earn and learn kind of a thing. Manoj has an potential to enroll for an apprenticeship promotion scheme, apprenticeship scheme. Apprenticeship is nothing but a corporate can take apprentice as a into their labor force, and today by law 10% of the labor the workforce for a particular corporate or for an enterprise, you can take it as an apprentice. That means you can pay 75% of the minimum wages to them, you can make them earn and learn kind of a thing. Added to this, in the new promotion scheme by the government, to around 2,500 rupees per month gets reimbursed by the government if you take an apprentice, which means there's a huge push at the policy level at the things of a student or a person can become an apprentice. Now, assuming Manoj becomes an apprentice because of the opportunities which is available, and he actually then steps into the formal world, even though he's only getting a stipend, he gets into the formal world of apprenticeship with the local dealer, with the local things, and he start making some small stipend. When he gets into the formal world of apprenticeship, and after his period of apprenticeship is over, now he gets a government recognized certificate, maybe under NCVT or sector skill councils, and he gets an apprenticeship certificate. Now he or she is equal or slightly equal to an ITI. Now he gets a job. Now, when he gets a particular job, from assuming that he was in Garonda, where he was doing the place where he was doing the apprenticeship, after finishing the apprenticeship, he moves, say, into near to Gurgaon, maybe Jajjar, and he gets a job there. That means now he has to find a place to stay. He stays in a particular hostel. Now he has got a full-time particular job, or he has got a particular job as a in the AC service kind of a department, and he starts to make slightly better money. His journey doesn't stop here. Now there is an element with earn and learn, with a bachelor of vocational, people call it as earn and learn kind of a thing, where he can enroll for diploma with the new rules and regulations. Now he learns more about AC refrigeration and its activities. He moves further into a diploma for kind of a things, studying more about IoTs, what are the brands looking for, what are the different kinds of condensers, refrigerants, etc. Now he studies more about it with the opportunities which is available. He doesn't leave the job. After he finishes that, he starts now looking, he gets into a particular contract job as a service technician or as a supervisor, and he starts making money. Now he picks up a contract job. Now he has got some part of his time, whether it is on the weekends or in the things, urban platform, urban club kind of a platform comes in, or any kind of gig platform comes in, and he enrolls himself. And he also gets access under the various schemes for set various tools, equipments, and he onboards himself to a gig platform. And he starts getting work orders. While continuing on to the particular job as a platform worker, he starts making additional income along with his contract job. Now he finds that he doesn't need a 9-to-5 contract job. He's able to make significant money being a contractor or starting to do repair at a higher end, at a condenser level. It's not just changing the bulbs. Now look at a scenario. You have called a Voltas 1-800 number, and Manoj lands up there. He inspects the fridge. He uses, he has got his higher end tools, equipments to understand how to do it. he connects, but he all of a sudden finds some blades missing or some bit of issues with the condenser. He dials Voltas ka, say a skilled Voltas ka mechanic or Voltas ka subject matter experts and say, he takes a video and shows this is the issue. There is a guidance which comes from the brand, and he is able to fulfill that particular task which he has been provided to. He is a nano contractor today, which is digitally savvy. He has already he's already got a credit history. He has got a banking kind of a thing, and because of whatever he moved into the formal sector way ahead. You look upon him in a way through a different pair of eyes because he's able to communicate technically to a set of a brand executives who is already sold the fridge or who's understanding it, and you get an instant solution rather than waiting for 2-3 months, 2-3 days, taking that part away or bringing a new part, or in terms of sending somebody else because that earlier Manoj couldn't solve the condenser problem. And look at it from a brand perspective. Most of you may be working for various brands in their design and other things. Today, technology has increased, whether it is for an AC or a washing machine or any kind of a thing with IoTs and other things. There is an instant way to understand when your compressor is going to get conked off. You can do a lot of preventive kind of a maintenance by the brands, by having Manoj kind of people trained and kept it in your once you keep it in the database. So added to this is any FMCG, FMCD kind of a product, they really struggle for pricing when they introduce any product, whether it is Samsung fridge, this, even for automobile, any kind of a thing. Their margins are really going to come in the after sales or after a particular sale is done through product sales or after sales service, etc. Which means brands today need people like Manoj more than ever. But where will you get people like Manoj? They have not been invested upon. They have not been pulled in. So there is no currency which, sorry, in the earlier Manoj, there was no social currency which was built in. Now there is a social currency which has been built by Manoj. So the point, what I was trying to understand is, even though there are various kinds of employment, there can be an apprenticeship as an employment, contract as an employment, part-time jobs as an employment, full-time jobs, gig, moonlighting, etc. We are conditioned towards saying, hey, I'm on a full-time job. That is the only silo. But look at Manoj at the age of 16. He was an apprentice. But at the age of 18, he was doing part-time job and he was a trainee somewhere. And when he moved to the age of 30, he was doing a contract job, but he was also moonlighting. He was also doing the gig work, or he was doing part of it. So for a wage for an informal sector person to increase, he or she needs to work on various kinds of employment modes which the brand or which the company gives, which actually enables him to move up the ladder. Now, if this is what, from a perspective of labor market, one can do, there are two aspects for it. What I explained before was the labor part of it. But who actually gives apprenticeships? Who actually gives gig work? Who actually gives work? That is enterprises, right? Now, if you look at what constitutes work, I mean, it may be apprenticeship job or nano contracting job, etc. But who actually provides? That is still a strange scenario. There are only 20,000 companies in our country which has got a paid up capital of more than 10 to 12 crores. And they employ maybe 5 million people. That is at the top level of pyramid. At the second level of things, there are 10 lakh companies who employs 30 people and above. That is at the middle level. At the lower end, you have somewhere around 6.5 million, 6.5 crores, that is 65 million companies who employs 3 to 5 people. Now, these are the kind of organizations which give work, whether as an apprentice or contract or this. So informalization is there at the work level also. But that companies, once they provide work, we need to create the bridge between that kind of a jobs and the labor. And that bridge is what we call it as people supply chain. Now, in that people supply chain, for Manoj to move from 0 to 2,000 rupees, he has to be on continuous skilling. When you design a particular product brochure for Voltas or any particular refrigeration things, if we keep in mind that a person like Manoj also need to comprehend what is or he needs to understand that particular product, so that we can empower him to increase the sales of your own brand, at the same time increase the wages of that particular thing. That continuous, as the brand changes or as the technology improves, how does he continuously skill to earn better? How can he continuously look at assessing himself against the next level wage? Today I'm getting 200. Oh, but if I learn about this, or if I go get the workaround for a new particular kind of a skill, I can get 300 rupees. I have to assess and say, what is my skill gap? What should I do? I should learn about financial literacy. I should learn about something more on technology. I need to continuously assess myself, rather than see in a white collar job, maybe we have jumped only 5 or 6 jobs in the full career. He needs to open up every day and say, okay, where will my continuity of job come? So assessment becomes another important element which can connect. And we as designers, or you as designers, need to look at how does this happen. Now for him, healthcare is another important element. 2 days of fever, 2 days of wages gone. Now I'm sure a lot of people are in designing of healthcare systems and other things. So how do we take care of that, and how do we bring this vast population into it? That's another element. Other than these three, which are horizontal, there is a need for housing. How can we put up good labor camps for them, so that not 10 people stay there, for increasing the real income? How can we get easy credit or access to credit history for him to build his credit history, so that he can get tools and equipments for improving the productivity? So the design community works in various fields. And how do we get these 300 or 400 million people to come to this technology, come to this product, interact with this product, learn better, so that they can execute on the ground better, is something which we always look for. Now, some of the things which we did, I mean, in terms of, this was one of the assessments for white collar, sorry, the skilling what we did for some white collar kind of a job, and the training was happening in Calicut. This is for a blue collar training in terms of hands-on fabricator kind of a training which we operate in. Now, this is an entrepreneurial motive, right? A woman entrepreneur, which is a male-dominated service mechanic kind of an entrepreneur. You train this woman, put them to a garage, or enable them with some level of loan or tools and equipments, give them that tools and equipments to set up the garage. They start a micro-entrepreneurial journey. This is assessments. Continuous assessment. They may enter as a level 1 trainer, level 1 tailor, then they want to move to level 3, level 4 kind of a thing. That means, how do you do continuous assessment, linking up with the various job opportunities which is available in this particular economy? Health. Critical of health for blue collar is the ASHA workers or the community. How do you upskill them so that they can go to the field where to interact with the blue or white collar to ensure preventive healthcare is aligned? Whether it is vaccination drives, how do we work out telemedicine kind of an approach to them, so that they don't fall sick? I'm not saying they don't, how can we prevent falling sick at the maximum level so that their wages are protected? One of our housing sites which we did, instead of 10 people staying in a cramped thing, how do we get 4 or 5 people to stay, at the same time keeping the economics and ergonomics in mind, not too congested kind of a thing? This is one of our construction site where we, in Bangalore, where 100 or 150 people are staying, and this is a temporary shed which we built in, and some kitchens was built in, and we staffed it. At least there is a dignity for their construction work which we were able to offer. The point is, why does it matter all for us as a community? Let's not take only the position of just a moral or a social obligation. I feel if you are able to get few more people aligned when you design a particular product, or for an industry to grow as such, if you are able to design certain product and which is applicable to these sets of people, you will have more users with the experience which you are able to provide. You will have more users coming in, or product sales will improve. After sales, if it is good, the product sales will improve. more products are coming into the particular market, the designers' opportunities will go up. So it is a complete cycle, right? Industry grows or market, the product improvement happen, the opportunities of designers will go up, and of course, finally, at the end of the day, you and me have a moral obligation to pull these underemployed people, which is 300 million of them, who's just earning $2 to $3 a day. How do we push them up to a $27 or $26, which is 2,000 rupees per day kind of a thing? How do we bring that aside is what our job is. So I thought that is what I thought I'll bring it to the forefront. I'm fine. I'm happy to take some questions.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you so much for opening the world of labor to us. So we can start off. Those who have questions probably can put the hand icon on so that I know who has a question. So the floor is open for the questions. You may close the window, Rajesh. Yeah. Okay. Who is going first? Before the first question comes, I have Raj Gopalas. Go ahead, Raj.
Hi, Rajesh.
Hi.
Pretty interesting perspective and a different view of life and different sector that normally designers don't really look at. The whole approach is great. Yeah, designers have a lot of role to play. As we skill up, as you were talking of Manoj going from a 500 to 2,000 rupees a day. So, who feels still? There is still a need for somebody at that 500 rupees level, isn't it?
Absolutely.
What happens there?
Yeah. So what that is the reason there are different kinds of jobs and different kinds of skill set. What happens in a case like Manoj's, it is not that he will get 30 days of a month, he will get the higher end wage of 2,000 per day kind of a thing. There are going to be lean periods in a particular day or in a particular month where he or she needs to pick up a job, maybe for repairing a tap or going and changing the bulb of the particular thing. So it is a mix of various levels of complexity, various levels of wages he will get for doing it. But objective which we are trying to put in place is two. One, how do I increase his wages over a period of time? And second, how do I bring in an element of multi-mode of employment to one set of things? See, today we get freezed in our mind saying that, hey, I will only do 9 to 5 or this is my full-time job. Ability to toggle behind, I'm an apprentice, even after working for 10 years, I'm an apprentice to do a new set of activity, or I'm a trainee to do something, is not still prevalent in a white collar. So that's the reason he should be open for various level, keeping wage in mind and maximizing his skill sets at various points of time. He will never get 3,000 or 4,000. He may get it for 3 days a month, 5 days a month. But balance he has to fill himself.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to figure out that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
To add to Raj's question, I think it's also the fact that we are not mature enough to distinguish between paying less to paying more. If this fellow has come, he has to fix everything. There's so. Ankur, go ahead. After that, Nimish.
I thought Nimish pressed it right a second before me, but fair enough.
Fastest finger
Yeah.
first.
Yeah. So Rajesh, I'm specifically going to talk about the gig economy.
Yeah.
In that, when this COVID hit, and right before, the whole idea of commodities which don't have a specialist value to it, they can be exchanged. So in a way, when you talk about these, general blue collar job workers, basically their commodity is their time, and within that they are basically set on a specific skill set. So they'll either be a welder or they could be a delivery boy, but basically they are trading their time for money because they've already got that skill set. Now, if just wanted your opinion on the idea of an exchange where the buyer is or their employer is not like a fixed person. There are different folks who want to borrow their time for, let's say, a couple of hours or 4 hours, or based on the task. And then on the other side, these gig workers are able to, project their hourly cost, and therefore there's a price matching from both sides as to what are they asking for and who's getting it. As in the service provider and the service receiver sort of match at a cost, and the hourly rate of that activity sort of gets decided, and the contract is like valid, and then they do the job and get out. Like basically formalizing the gig economy further so that one person is not tied to, let's say, a Swiggy alone or a Zomato alone, and doesn't have to switch between the apps. He's basically just selling his time on a platform where to do any of these jobs, he's basically just trying to extract the maximum value for the time that he gives there. Um, I don't know if I was able to make my question clear, but that's a thought that I've had with me, that, could that be a way of moving these informal economy workers into a more, a sort of an entrepreneurial lifestyle where they demand, as in their price demands are basically more market corrected, as well as like the customers know that, if not this guy, I can get any other electrician to do. How much is he charging for, etc. So do you see a sense in that sort of a system?
Absolutely, absolutely. So platforms actually formalize a lot of things, right? Today, thanks to an urban company or a similar companies of that kind of a thing, they have formalized a lot of these payments and scheduling and other things, and have brought some level of dignity of labor to the people. See, there are two aspects to it, Rangan. One is in terms of trading of time, which is very fungible, right? When we are talking about a segment of people like a delivery boy or like a set of things where skills is not an entry barrier or to a particular platform. Like a delivery boy is not a okay, you need to know driving, but you can today work for Swiggy, or there's a lot of people available from a demand supply perspective, where real wages, and that wages will not go beyond a 200 rupees per day or 300, 400 rupees per day, unless a sector comes in and disrupts it, saying that, okay, I'll give you extra incentive because I have the VC money, or some VC money is coming behind it. What is very important for the informal sector, and this statistics is very important, is like 100 million odd people enter the labor force with that kind of a skill sets at the age of 16 and exit at the age of 60 with the same skill set. That means he's a delivery boy for life, right? I mean, I'm just putting that is a kind of number which is it. What is important for us is to ensure that, okay, he's working as a delivery boy. What is his basic aspiration? How do we improve, give him opportunities to increase the skill sets so that his per hour billing, what we are talking about, increases over a period of time. Now, that visibility is 2-3 things are there. One, he or she doesn't know what he wants to do. How do we rekindle that effort? Second is, he knows that he wants to get into a mechanic kind of a thing. What is his first basic step? He can't immediately get a 2,000 rupees. Can I move from 250 to 300? First, maybe as a tire fitter, maybe as this, so that we can show him a path ahead to move up that ladder. That is very important. And in an 8 hours of work, maybe only 2 hours he gets that kind of a job. 2 hours he might get to do a delivery boy kind of a thing, which should be open enough. And that is what today, thanks to the new labor codes which is going to come in and other things, people are open with various kinds of employment. And COVID was a fast accelerator to it. Work from home and other things means a lot of gig opportunities is coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think when I see your model, when you start working with a few people and you give them a pay rise, that inequality with another service provider giving it, like the general one which you haven't touched from your system, the ones who are still providing it at a 200-300 rupee a day cost, whereas your guy or the guys who've been trained or brought into a formal system, they're now charging, let's say, $800. So doesn't the market already automatically again shift back to the to give more jobs to the 200 to 300 rupee guy? Like, you'll have to move the whole system together for it to work. Like, doing it in separate groups may just increase that competitiveness and bring the prices down again, and then cause a shift in it. That's one of the areas that I thought that that's like a barrier in the way you move. So
Yeah, and, another, okay, I'll maybe give one more context, and then today, when I'm just keeping the same example of a refrigeration company. Today, if there is a problem with your refrigerator, actually the dealer or the stockist, where you bought the shop guy, sends you the mechanic to repair. Okay. Now with extent of, and that skill set is questionable, and I'm just using questionable in a inverted comma thing. Now, thanks to what is happening with the technology at the brand level, with the new technologies coming in, brands are forced to upskill the people like Manoj to give the experience, customer experience you are asking for an increased revenue for the brands itself through after sales. Which means there is a need in the market itself. There is a need for upselling. So, like for example, we work with a fabricator, that is the fabrication. A company which sells TNT bars. We train fabricators on their money across the country, around 20,000 of fabricators every year, to on their product, which is a higher cost kind of thing, which is free given to the informal sector. So now his ability to earn, in terms of there are still market challenges around it, increases. So we have to, it is an industry push forward, which is required for pushing the needle up.
Great. Thanks.
Good, Ankur. I think you should connect with Rajesh. I mean, there's a lot of. These are very important questions, I think, and Rajesh would be very, very happy to onboard you on this conversation. And he's actually looking for a lot of input to his own model. And some of these questions probably will help Rajesh fine-tune his thinking. And that's one of the purpose of this session. So thanks, Ankur.
Sure. Yeah.
Nimesh, yours, then after that is Venkatesh Murthy.
So Rajesh, I was curious, in the beginning you had shown a slide which had different boxes and the number of people in those boxes, like white collar, blue collar, gray collar. Now in percentage terms, how has this changed over years? Do you have data on that? Like 20 years ago, what was the percentage of white collars? What is it now? 20 years ago, what was blue collar, and how is it now? So is there a positive change, negative change? Is the same? Just curious about that.
Yeah, good question, Mish. I mean, like, if I take early years, 20 years back, and I'm getting into the labor force. In the labor force, I'm putting gray, blue, and all the other things together. White collar constituted around 15% of the labor force. Today, people talk about as 25%. Okay, which means 25% of the labor force is white, and that is growing at a pace. I mean, the recent study from Staffing Federation talks that we will hit 30-35% in the next 5 years, which is huge. And why is it happening? I mean, that is happening for one big reason is GST implementation. And when a GST kind of an implementation happening, the middle guys who was surviving on tax arbitrage is no more there, and they have to formalize a particular worker. If they have to give work to a formal guy who has got tax, all the things, then they have to also show PF, PSI, and other things of the workers working there. So that plays. PF automation played a big role. So there are a lot of wins of policy which enabled movement of the unorganized to organized. Then comes naturally the rise of platform companies, the rise of a whole lot of external factors which gave some level of dignity to the kind of labor which is there. If you look at the recent funding for fintech funding which was being announced, most of them are catering to the blue collar. They're claiming to cater to the blue collar. That means further kind of interventions are coming in. Now to get financing to blue collar, they need to have credit history. That means you need to have banking. Jan Dhan kind of a scheme from the government enabled blue collar or gray collar people to open bank accounts. So external environment is today in favor of moving to unorganized to organized. Just that we have to keep a sharp eye on wages and the dignity of labor which we are providing. Because formalization comes with a cost. Who will bear the cost is a key question.
So just as a follow-up question on that, you said, platform economy or platform labor market has improved conditions. So has it improved conditions for the people who are on the platform, or are they exploitative? Our general sense is platforms become exploitative. So for example, if we take Uber and Ola, so are they exploitative for the drivers, or or have more drivers come into the market? What is the actual reality there?
Let me answer it differently. Today, before these platforms, so-called platforms, they needed to get work for 30 days a month. There was a search cost and there was an opportunity loss. If they didn't work, they didn't get that money. That means they were not getting continuity of work. Plus, there was a search cost in terms of they may not, because they had to continuously search jobs or they had to rely on middlemen. That entire value of that search cost or relying on middlemen or not working is not taken into account. So today, when a platform company takes 30% or 20% and then gives the wages to the people, that is considered as exploitative. But if you look at it from what they were earning before to what they are earning today, they are earning better. What went wrong in my mind is the huge incentive structure which was untenable, which was given to these people to come onto the platform, to change so-called behavior. And when that incentive structure was pulled back, and market forces started to operate, the taxi fares, what you are paying to an Ola or Uber for moving from A to B increased. At the same time, there was no additional incentive for a driver to take you from A to B kind of a place. That was not there. His incentive structure also was withdrawn. What you paid, 80% or 70% was given to them. So it became market. At the end of the day, it is market which is going to determine how it is going to happen, what it is going to happen. But if each person in what we were looking at, when you are looking at the full product, and if each enterprise looks at that we have to formalize the set of the janitors who's working in our company or the people who's coming in, have to formalize them. That means the outsourced contractor people also should have PF, PSI. The moment you start insisting, it slightly in the short run, you may look, there may be some ups and downs, but in the long run, it will all normalize with the market conditions.
Okay. Thanks, Rajesh.
Thanks.
Venkatesh, Venkatesh and Murthy, go ahead.
Hi. Thank you for the opportunity. And I must, first of all, thank Nimish for asking me to join this session. So I'm quite phenomenally benefited by Rajesh's session. So thank you for that enlightening session. I will have two questions, quite interconnected ones. I heard this point about some 20 years ago when I was in my class 11, where a friend of mine spoke to me about, hey, if everybody becomes rich, if everybody becomes middle class, if everybody goes upper middle class and so forth and higher above in the economic status, will there not be any shortage of workers to work in, say, in construction work or do our domestic work and do scavenging and do rack picking and stuff like that? And I heard the same question kind of somewhat coming up in the beginning of the Q&A session here, somewhat that reminded me of that. And about 20 years later, fast forwarding, coming into an IIT, I heard the same thing said by a colleague of mine here. Pretty interesting. And now I would want to place this and then ask you and request you, how do we really answer this question? So is there a way to answer it? Because there seems to be a sentiment, I don't know whether it is coming from a very absurd capitalistic mindset, that you need to have a working class working at a certain lower rate, which is what creates economic surplus for the those who invest money in producing things. That's one question. Now, then we need to really figure out how do we answer that question. The second question is about, I just completed a study based on leather factories based out of Chennai and nearby regions. And one of the things that we could interestingly see through was the Adi Dravidas, what we call as the Dalits of the Tamil Nadu region, have moved out of leather factories. They were the one who contributed labor. There is a caste conscious society which doesn't really go into leather. That's a very taboo there. And now they're moved out. Now they're looking for poor individuals, and also those individuals who are ready to or who are willing to work for leather. They found labor from elsewhere, say from Bengal, UP, Bihar, and so on, and they're doing the job there. Now it is the same cycle. I mean, there's no difference in the cycle. It continues to somewhat, again, the lowest of the lowest who have been traditionally being treated in such a manner, in a certain way, have been put to do the same work, which is considered to be menial by certain sections of society. So how do we see through these two questions? And both have a connected linkage as well. Yeah, both.
Okay, thanks, Venkat. See, let's take agriculture, because that is, I didn't touch much upon that. Today, some part of blue and gray also moves into agriculture based on the seasonality. So according to statistics, 200 million people are engaged in the agriculture sector. Okay. This 200 million people just produces maybe less than 15% of our GDP, compared to an IT where 5 or 6% of the workforce is giving you maybe higher GDP than anything else. By producing only 15% of the GDP for this 200 million people, they are actually subjected to utmost poverty, because there is no outcome which is coming in. You have a lot of people working there. At the same time, with half the population in agriculture, US may be producing 5 times more agricultural output. Why? It can be mechanization. It can be better processes. It can be various elements, better financing to those set of people, or land issues. Whatever. There is a alignment of productivity increase using machine processes and other things to improve productivity. So getting worried saying that I will not have agricultural worker to do my farm work is not at all, is a misconception, because with advent of tools and technology, you need half the people or maybe 1/3 of the people to produce this output. What it results in, today if a person, and a task was given to say 200 or 250 rupees per day, now which was done by, or 750 was given to 3 people, now one guy can get 750 rupees. It improves the wages of it. He comes with his machines and other things, and he gives you the outcome. So it is not that you will not have labor. You will have less labor, but with higher productivity. So we should embrace how does a labor market looks at giving tools, equipments, giving finances, giving various things to increase productivity for the same task. And this happened in construction. I mean, construction companies missed the first wave of technology, saying that, hey, anyway, I pay this contractor only for the work done. Let him get 100 more people, no issues. I'll only pay for 1 lakh or 2 lakh. But by doing so, they missed the technological upgradation which was happening in the construction field. So it is very important but at the same time, look at our youth today. I mean, the phone which they are using is comparable with the phone which is being used by the youth in US or UK. So access to technology is there. It has to just go into the blue gray and no collar kind of workforce. That enabling ecosystem, if it is made, we will get better productivity output. That's the point one. So that is, I feel that's the way to first level of answer. Second, in India, unfortunately, caste plays a big role for a lot of job roles. Like, for example, when we were recruiting for carpentry, I mean, in terms of kind of a thing, we all went to a specific districts and specific set of a thing to recruit people from a particular sector, a caste, to get them deployed. Today, plumbers, I'll go to Odisha, right? I mean, that's the capital of plumbing. The district in Odisha gets a lot many people to supply people to the various kinds of a thing. That is, unfortunately, there is a social strata kind of a thing. But having said that, today, if we are able to provide dignity to a labor, like same leather, let's take a leather in terms of for Ambur, and when you're talking about Chennai kind of a belt, whether it's Ambur, Vellore kind of a thing, there was a lot of micro enterprises at home which was providing work to the people, to the factories like KH Leather or which, I mean, in terms of a kind of a thing. Now, a lot of these companies today it doesn't have native population working, that is in and around population working, which was there. They are relying, one, because in and around they are able to get better wages in a sleep or nearby kind of a thing, or working as a home enterprise, they're able to get a 700 or 800. Why should they come up to another factory to work? But it today got replaced from talent or labor, which is coming in from West Bengal, Odisha, and kind of a thing. And most of these companies are providing housing today and enabling, when I say housing, labor camps kind of a today, and has got replaced. So the caste or elements which was there is slowly moving out because of the economic disparities in the regions across the country. So once you enable the labor frictionality, that is labor market movement from up and down, you will find so-called casteism, so-called restrictive one caste doing a particular trade slowly moving away. One more trend, I mean, just to close that conversation, we are seeing a huge trend when rural to urban transition is happening or urbanization is happening. That also ensures that these elements of social norms is slowly disappearing and new sets of people are coming and doing. Important is to bring in dignity through giving them tools, equipments, finance, getting them to, it should look like an organized play. You will attract a lot of talent.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah.
We have time probably for two questions. Pramod, one, and there is one which has come on the message. So Pramod, you finish off, then I'll ask the one from the message box.
Hi, Rajesh.
Hey, hi, Pramod.
Congrats and thanks for sticking to this particular cause for such a long time. Okay, so that's one thing. And I just want to take a pointer that you had a stint with something like Manipal as well, right? And how do you look at when you look at these two ways of getting employment, or earnings? And the examples that you showed of Manoj 1 and Manoj 2, okay, it still showed like maybe a better income level, but still sticking to unorganized sector only. So have you come across possibilities where maybe they can go from unorganized to organized sector at some point of time?
Yeah. So thanks, Pramod. So the Manipal or Team B's kind of a thing catered to the monthly wage scenario, which is primarily white collar. So you could move into the white collar very fast. Somewhere or the other there is no solution. There was no marketable solution for blue and informal sector kind of a thing. So today's context, I personally feel the huge market availability is in the informal sector, what we call it as blue and gray kind of a thing. Other things catered to the monthly wages. It was never catering to the paper task kind of a model. So that was one stark difference. The second case of Manoj, which I explained, he moves as an apprentice the moment he dropped out. And when we are talking as an apprentice, means his data is lying in the National Apprenticeship Portal. He is eligible for the national under the ESI scheme or workman in terms of some level of health cover for him, which means he has already got the first baby step towards a formal economy. And from there he moves on. So it is in between formal and informal. As an apprentice he takes on, then he completely moves into formal, whether it is a contract employment or as a gig. He is getting his financial credit history done. He is able to get his tools and equipments. He is able to get his things moved. So he moves into formal economy in the second case. I hope I answered your question, Pramod.
Yes, thanks.
Thanks.
Good. So there's one last question, which is in the message box. I'll just read out to you, Rajesh. This is from Nabajit Deka. Thanks for your insightful presentation. The person is not able to speak, so he's written the question. The question is this applicable in the rural sector as well? Like, can we scale up self-help groups? I mean, attributing to your model, I think. If so, in what way can we do in your opinion?
Great. That's absolutely possible. I mean, like self-help groups. Now, how do we formalize a self-help group is a very important question. Like for farmers, there is a farmer producer organization or a cooperative which is set up, which can access credit, which can access tools, which can access a lot of schemes and subsidies from government and the activities, which can then be given to the farmers to do it. NABARD has come out with something called as OFPO, that is other than the farmer producer group, you can create a producer group for, say, artisan group, or say for a beautician group, or for a tailoring kind of a group, and then you can access credit. It is more or less work in both kind of a thing, but it is very important to create from a loosely worded SHGs to a organized set of an enterprise, at least under the recognition of various financial institutions, so that you are able to access credit at a lower level or a subsidies of a lower level and create market linkages under that brand of OFP or NFPs. So 100% possible. Yes, to earn to the desired income, it is going to take time because of the market conditions and because of the market accessibility. But there are jobs which can be done with organizing the unorganized, including farm workers. Maybe we can connect offline, and that is one clear area of passion. Would be happy to converse around it.
Yeah, very good. I think this session should at least help a lot of us connect. And Navajit has put thank you. Rajesh, I think it's time for us to end this session. Of course, there is lots more to discuss, and I know it's a very challenging topic for you to cover in this short duration, given the vast complexity of this subject itself, and it is not a very easy subject to deal with in this short duration. Of course, what you have done is you have given us some kind of insight into this domain, and also made us realize how important it is to be, as responsible designers, we also need to give attention to this area. I'm sure some of us who find this very inspiring should actually connect with you and start collaborating and looking at opportunities to contribute. And I fully agree with you that this is an area which requires a lot of attention, and also the impact that we can generate is so high. And after all, without this layer, without this particular ecosystem, we just cannot survive. And that you made it very clear and loud. So it certainly registers in our mind. And with this, on behalf of the alumni group, I thank you for your time. And I know it has been tough on us to push you into getting your ideas organized for this presentation. And I also thank your colleague, Shashank, who had helped in this process, and all the members of the LabourNet who've been behind you in your endeavor, and also creating the kind of insights that you have come is because of the organizations that you have had a backing on. So my wishes for your success and to your organization, and look forward to be in touch. Probably see you again sometime. Thank you.
Thanks.
Closing.
Thanks for the opportunity. Enjoyed the conversation. Thanks.
Yeah.